All right, it's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I have Ibrahim Shita as well as Olamide Adeyemi standing by. Ibrahim, it's interesting to see you on the other side this morning. But then again, the matter of the NLC suspending its strike, initial strike, it was supposed to happen today, but we're seeing that they have suspended it. I'm sure that is making headlines this morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's good to be here with Olamide, at least sharing.
Good morning, Veronica. I have Ibrahim here with me today. I'll do well to send you Nelson later.
Okay.
So we'll pick it up from here.
All right, so I have first with me the Nation newspaper with a screaming headline: Health sector gets $1 billion for human capital development. And I also have the writer read 4.8 billion naira for HIV and AIDS treatment. Nigeria braces for impact of U.S. policy, the policy shift in aid. Also, we have under the nameplate, court remands ex-NHIS boss Yusuf in prison. Hearing resumes February the 12th. And also drops planned protest over 50% telecom tariff hike. And PSC never directed IG Egbetokun retirement. Southeast monarchs abolish Ezendigbo title outside Igbo land. Above the masthead, we have Geregu makes 137 billion naira, PAT up by 71%, declares dividend of 21.25 billion naira. Interesting development. And federal government subsidizing electricity with 200 billion naira monthly. Nigeria will reduce external borrowing, Edo tells World Bank. And on the bottom strip, INEC tenders Beavers devices by Edo PDP. You see that on page 6. And Chinese ducked over impersonation. Interesting stories on the front pages.
Right. Ibrahim, it's great that, the health sector is getting the funding that it needs, especially, this reactions that we've seen majorly to this removal of the funding for HIV and also AIDS patients. So it's great that, 4.8 billion naira is actually given for HIV AIDS treatment.
That's right.
Like the Ugandan president, governor, so to speak, mentioned, he talked about the fact that African countries have to hold themselves. They have to be independent, and they do not strictly have to, rely on
African
aid
presidents are also reacting. Cyril Ramaphosa is also reacting to
this.
President Donald Trump, saying that leave our land alone. Stop saying some things about South Africa.
I mean, we have to brace up, irrespective.
And we have to brace up. We also have Uhuru Kenyatta, who also made statements in reaction to the withdrawal of the HIV and AIDS fund. So African countries are already waking up, and we anticipate, or we hope and pray, as we always say, that they wake up as soon as we can. In fact, the time for us to wake up is yesterday.
Right. And health is a major concern, especially at this time, which takes us to the leadership newspaper. World Cancer Day. Treatment cost wears out patients and their families. Breast cancer treatment cost 20 million naira in Nigeria. The death of specialists, late diagnosis limit the chances of survival. And Nigeria has one radiation oncologist to 2,000 patients. That's a sad one. And 24 Nigerian women die daily from cervical cancer. Another story here says, EFCC arraigns 57 foreigners for romance scam orders. Tinubu orders congratulate Thames over Grammy Award. Ibrahim, this is another big story, another big win for Nigeria in the music industry. We've seen a whole lot of, reactions to that. And the president has actually come out to congratulate Thames. When you look at our music industry and how well it has fared in the past few years, you will say, it seems like we're on the right direction.
Absolutely. So when I saw the president's congratulatory message, statement, to Thames yesterday, I said, yes, the president is there. Because, it's part of his agenda to support the youth, because, so the youth are getting, they are making waves. They're doing a lot in terms of tech, in terms of music, in terms of telecom. Just mention all of those, you find the youth there. So they are the future of tomorrow. In fact, future of now.
Let's not forget that it's even a great source of, generated revenue, IGR for the state. You saw what we had in Lagos in the Dirty December.
The Dirty December.
So how much more?
That's right. He also congratulated, you remember the Super Eagles, our players out there when they actually they didn't win, but he still conferred on them MON. That was way back. He has also met with Anthony Joshua, met with different guys who are doing making waves, making us proud on the global stage.
It's great that the presidency is acknowledging our talent, is acknowledging those who have put their best foot forward in terms of bringing the nation to the limelight. And so
hopefully
the music industry
also congratulate us too for all this.
We are waiting for that.
Blazing the trail.
All right, so let's see what the Blueprint newspaper has to say.
Right, the Blueprint has amid U.S. policy shift, Nigeria votes $1.07 billion for health sector reforms and harps on HIV treatment expansion. Nigeria-U.S. trade relations strain, experts suggest way out. NDDC mandates better achieved with guaranteed tenure. Ugochukwu Udoma-Egba. And then we have Kogi State sacks Ohinoyi, Ebiraland, Tijani, and Naje. Interesting development. For business here, Night Mobile faces sharp subscriber decline as competitors gain ground. Sports here, 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Rwanda yet to appoint new coach. Above the masthead, Tinubu approves environment and tech varsity for Ogoni. Osun community chieftaincy crisis festers. 4 killed, 7 police injured. Bandits paid Taraba chief 1.5 million naira to establish camp. That's according to Army. Nigeria needs $200 billion for gas infrastructure. That's according to NATI. And the former governor of Oyo State, Ladoja, threatens Akonde over comment on Bola Ige's death. And on the bottom strip, 3 to die by hanging in Ogun over murder of ex-CBN staffer. Others. Interesting stories here. One of the stories also that I also reads, bandits paid Taraba chief 1.5 million naira to establish camp. That's according to Army. These guys are daredevil.
I think we have that on another newspaper. But very quickly before we leave the Blueprint, there is a story here on the top of the Blueprint newspaper which says that President Tinubu approves environment and tech varsity for Ogoniland. Yeah. I think this is something that we should have seen in the past. But it's great that this administration is focusing on that. We've talked about welfare for the Ogoni people, ensuring that the Ogoni people are one of the beneficiaries of some of the resources in their environment. So it's great that the president, after meeting with their leaders and stakeholders in that region, is doing his best to ensure that people are more proactive in that region in terms of health, in terms of taking care of the environment, and also holding these IOCs to account. And
we also hope that the oil explorers, talk about the Shell Oil, ENI, etc., they're also paying attention to this in helping the Ogoni, because exploration of oil has actually devastated degraded the land there, the waters, the fish is almost gone. Their agriculture has been eroded. So many things that happen to the Ogoni. And don't forget, there is still the Ogoni cleanup ongoing, which is meant to last for several years to come. So we hope that this definitely is going to meet them in a very, very positive and better juncture.
Those who stay in the Ogoni land actually raised an alarm about this IOCs divesting, looking to other businesses, perhaps leaving that environment and going elsewhere. And so that's why they raised the alarm as to saying that these IOCs must be brought to book, must ensure that they clean up that environment before they leave to other businesses. But let's see what the outcome of that will be. And that takes us to the New Telegraph newspaper this morning. The big story here says Nigeria may lose multi-billion-dollar U.S. aid as Musk threatens U.S. aid shut down. Nation gets $783 million. Nation got, rather, $783 million last year, $7.8 billion over 10 years from the agency. Trump agrees to pause tariffs on Mexico set to face EU. Ibrahim, this is a source of concern, looking at the fact that we may be losing investment from some of the aids that we're getting from the United States, apart from what Donald Trump has made an order on. But there is another story here which says WAEC exam still free in Lagos, TCC required. That's the LRS quoting. I mean, some will say that's very different from the norm. because, you know, some private schools, you have to pay for WAEC and all of that. So for those who have interest in that paper, you can take a look at the New Telegraph. Another story here says, Ige's mother, my government did not withdraw the case against Omishori orders. Ladojad threatens to sue Akonde over a statement about that. Well, I think that's the major story we have on the New Telegraph. And on the bottom strip of the paper, it says no plan for 65% increase in electricity tariff. That's according to the presidency. I mean, an increase at this point will be, you know, maybe difficult for Nigerians. We've had an increase in others.
Interesting
other
stuff.
areas.
It's very similar to what I have here with the Daily Independent, you know, with the screaming headline, no plans to increase electricity tariff by 65%. Federal government reacting there. You know, what we've been having conversation on had been 50% increment.
On the telecoms.
On the telecoms.
Right.
But, you know, the NLC had been kicking against it. CSOs are saying, come on, why are you guys always shouting on protest? Why don't you think of other alternatives? But we know that Nigerians are not happy. They are not receiving this, you know, with what's it called, comfort, because we feel for some to even afford 500 naira to buy 1 gigabyte data is very, very difficult. But they make comparison that to buy it in South Africa is 1,200, to buy it in Ghana is 1,500. But we don't. If you look at the exchange rates, it seems that theirs is higher than us. But then we can't compare the purchasing power, the PPP, that is the price parity. We can't pricing parity. We can't compare it, you know, with them, because what we spend here, what we find difficulty in getting here might not be the same thing over there. So I still have some with me here talking about the Daily Independent. Expert kick against federal government refund to state governments over airport project. Say refund of 4 billion naira to Kebbi in 2025 budget unnecessary. It contradicts airport concession policy. Egbetokun retirement controversy. We have no constitutional powers over IGP. That's according to Police Service Commission. Says it never directed retirement of IGP. And then above the masthead, Naira depreciation pushes external debt up by 36.9 trillion naira to 68.9 trillion naira. That's according to reports. And FEC okays $1.07 billion for health sector reform, HIV and AIDS, TB, malaria, others. Olamide.
Right. I mean, in reaction to, you know, the NLC planned strike about the tariff, I mean, some will say that getting quality of service beyond the cost is also, you know, very important. But this takes us to this Nigerian newspaper. And this Nigeria is focusing on gas infrastructure. Nigeria needs $200 billion to provide gas infrastructure in Nigeria. As Senate rejects 1% solid mineral contribution to GDP. 1%, some will say, is quite low.
Yeah.
Looking at our GDP and asking the government to invest 200 billion, expecting a 1% contribution of minerals. Right. I think it's quite low. It's not really, you know, equal to what we expect. Another story here. And this is good news. Federal government okays 4.2 trillion naira for the second Niger Bridge road project across Nigeria. Recall that, you know, road infrastructure is very critical to businesses, very critical to, you know, connecting states, connecting individuals to each other. So and it's good that, you know, the government is also focusing on road, but we also have to, you know, ask questions, raise questions at this point to ensure that those who are giving this project make sure that they do it to, you know, the best of their ability. The federal government is also approving a $45.3 million for critical transportation projects beyond just, you know, road. And a sad story here, which is a tragedy actually. 3 siblings found dead in a deep freezer. Community is in shock. That's in Inewi community. So there are questions as to how they got there. And I mean,
thorough
it's a
investigation.
very sad, yes,
thorough investigation has to be done into that, because of course they didn't put themselves inside the freezer. Only God knows what happened. Maybe someone threw them in or anything. So there will be a whole lot of you know, theories, you know, coming up, how it happened, what happened, and all of that. So they just must find a way to, establish what really happened. Moving on to other stories. First news is with me here. Ebonyi residents flee community after herdsmen attack, and I left PDP because of Oborewori Okowa. That's according to Ned Nwoko. EFCC arraigns MD for alleged 144 million naira Hajj fraud in Gombe. Three to die by hanging over murder of couple son in Ogun. That's according to Ogun Court. And above the bottom strip, federal government approves 4.8 billion naira for HIV treatment amid U.S. aid uncertainty. 3 siblings brutally murdered, bodies stuffed in deep freezer. Now, this is another perspective. They will lack power to decide IGP's appointment, retirement. That's according to PSC. And Tinubu to court, you lack power to order my impeachment. And on the bottom strip, alleged fraud, ex-NHIS boss remanded in Kuje prison. Interesting newspapers.
All right, let's quickly go to the Platform Times newspaper. And it's the story that you've also mentioned earlier. Bandits pay 1.5 million naira bribe to local chief to build camp. That's a very, sad story there. Recovers huge cache of arms and ammunitions. This raises questions, and this, may need more effort from security agencies. Police rescue infant sold for 1.3 million naira, 1.5 million by traffickers. EFCC arraigns travel agency CEO over 144 million Hajj scam. Well, that's the major story on the Platform Times.
All right, quickly, let's race to Nigeria News Diary because of our time. Kaduna Assembly Committee indict El Rufai over alleged misappropriation of 423 billion naira. As a screaming headline here. And then we're advancing private sector growth to reduce reliance on external debt. This is according to Edo. Ogun killers get death sentence over murder of couple son. That's about it for the Nigerian News Direct. Virtually all the papers are united on some of the stories that are
some of the headlines this morning. Yeah. And that will take us finally to Sporting Life. And is on Boniface again. My focus 100% Leverkusen. That's according to Victor Boniface. Rwanda yet to appoint new coach. That's in reaction to the March 17 World Cup qualifiers. There are questions about how the club is going to, contest without a coach. Morata completes Galatasaray move, and Manuel Neuer extends Bayern stay. But that's it on the Sporting Life this morning, Ibrahim.
Absolutely. So I believe our viewers are actually up to date. So, but if they still want to explore what has been read so far, they can always get a copy of the papers and read up to it. So it's time to go back to Veronica. Veronica.